0, 1, 2, 3. Let's get started.
That's real good.
Why they stopping me?
Hey everybody, welcome to the Westbrook Christian Football Show. Jeff Underwood, this is J-Dub White. This guy right here is J-Dub White.
And I'm going to introduce the old ball coach, Coach Steve Smith. Welcome.
Glad to be here, guys.
All right, so what do you think about the World Series, Coach?
Let's
go ahead and get out of the way so we can focus on football.
As lesser of the evils, I know I like to give you a hard time about the Yankees, but I don't really care for the Dodgers either. But the only good thing in that series was Freddie Freeman. I can be a Freddie Freeman fan, and glad to see him do well.
So what I posted this morning, because all the Braves fans are kind of claiming Freddie now.
Don't say all.
So I went back and posted, the thing that Chipper Jones posted last year. Well, make no mistake about it, Freddie Freeman left the Braves because he wanted to leave the Braves. So I've just re-forwarded what Chipper Jones put out there.
I didn't see him thank the Braves in his acceptance speech of the MVP.
He did not. So
I'm proud for him.
I'm proud for Freddie Freeman. Freddie Freeman's a great dude.
Good dude, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. But I'm not getting on Freddie. I'm getting on all the Braves fans who want to still claim him as being their own. He left you. He did not want to be. And I'll be honest with you. I don't want to live in Atlanta. Can I be fair?
I don't know if I would want to either.
It's especially political season coming up.
Oh,
but that ain't what this show is.
No,
Eeky.
it's a football show.
It's a football show.
Ooh, it could turn political though.
It could turn biblical too.
Very quickly.
The old ball coach knows some scripture.
He'll throw the word on you.
You know what else he knows?
Somebody said last week or 2 weeks ago, Coach is preaching.
He was. Coach is preaching. Coach can preach. Coach does know football, but you know what else he knows? A man named Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
I promise you that.
Bible.
So, let's talk about last week's game.
Yes, sir.
God almighty, every game is just... My cardiologist says I can't go to a Westbrook game. This is too emotional.
Yeah, it was a tough loss for us, man. Our kids played hard, battled their hearts out. Weaver's been playing really good here the last 3 or 4 weeks and have played themselves into playoff contention as well. And really good ball game between two good teams. And just made one more play there at the end than we did. But our guys, can't say enough good things about our guys, the effort, the way they went out and laid it on the line. We just we got to figure out how to make that play, and everybody focuses on the last play, obviously, the end of the game. I mean, that's the one that, in the eyes of 99% of the public,
sure,
that's what decided it. I get all that, and we got to make that play at the end. We got to have there's going to have to be a time when that play at the end, one play with the game on the line, and we need to make that play. But it's like I tell the kids all throughout. There were plays made all throughout the game that had an impact on the outcome.
Sure.
We just always tend to remember the last play, and a lot of times if the last play goes your way, then you can forget all the other plays. And unfortunately, if the last play don't go your way, then people tend to forget all the other plays as well. But we just got to be able to string 4 complete quarters together, and we got put that behind us again, and we got a huge game at Welborn on Friday night, tomorrow night, that we control our own destiny partly in the sense that we know we have to win to be in, and then we have to have a little help with Pennington beating Weaver. But, when we left the Fieldhouse last Friday night, to be honest with you, I didn't see a scenario that we could get in with the loss. And so it was kind of a gloomy situation when everybody left, and then one of the assistant coaches said, Coach, if you looked at it, if this happens and this happens, then we're in a tiebreaker, and this particular tiebreaker we'd actually hold the upper hand in. And I said, no. And we checked each other, and everybody else checked each other, and come to find out, that there was a way. So I was scrambling over the weekend, sending texts to our players, like, hey, due to everything that's happened here, we control our destiny partially. And the fact if we beat Welborn and Pennington's able to beat Weaver, we can get into the playoffs. So been a great week of practice. Our guys have been very upbeat, spirited, had a good week of preparation. We're excited about getting to play this game.
So you're saying there's a chance?
Oh, yeah.
Saying there's
a chance.
Heck yeah. And I'll be honest, if you're just looking at games, that the Weaver Pennington game should be a fantastic game.
Yeah, we played those two guys the last 2 weeks. We lost to both of them by 3 points. There's some things, obviously, I think that Weaver does a little better than Pennington. There's things that Pennington does a little better than Weaver. So it should be a really good game as well.
Well, interesting. We always talk about how tough the region is. There is only 2 regions in all of Alabama that only has one qualifier so far set. That's
Right.
yours and 4A7. That's that Deschler region
Okay.
up there. It's the only 2 in the whole state, any classification. 2 9-team regions. So,
Yeah.
talk about that a little bit. 9-team regions is different.
It is, and our situation. We talked about it a little bit last week, but Ohatchee finished region play last week. They're 4-4. Should we beat Welborn, we'd both be 4-4 in the region, and then if Weaver were to beat Pennington, they'd both be 4-4. So you'd be looking. I do think there's 2 spots that are set in our region. I think I'm right on this, but I don't see how Locust Fork is not already clinched the number 2 spot.
Well, according to the association, when they send their
Right.
information over,
Right.
it's not.
It's not clinched.
Yeah.
I've been saying the whole time. Maybe it's safe to say that Piedmont and Locust Fork have clinched a playoff spot. Then maybe just not
The position, correct.
Maybe not Locust Fork being locked in as the
Correct.
number 2 seed. But when you got games that we're accustomed to games on coming down to week 10 that impact the playoffs, but most of the time those games are non-region games. And people are trying to determine how many victories they're going to have from their defeated non-region opponents.
Yeah.
Not only is it going to come down to week 10 in our region, but it's coming down to week 10 with region games that head-to-head us and Welborn, head-to-head Pennington and Weaver. It affects the outcome. So there's no more post week 10 regular season play. It can't go any later than it's going to go. It's going to go right down to 9:30, 10 o'clock tomorrow night before our region is settled. And I think from a fan's perspective, that obviously makes it very exciting. Region-wide, it makes it very exciting. Coaching-wide, it's pretty nerve-wracking. But, it's one of those situations to where we preach to our guys that every game is the most important game. It's the next game, and it's never more evident than tomorrow night.
Well, you've got a team that's coming off of 3 region losses, 3 straight. You guys have had suffered 2 3-point losses the last
Right.
2 weeks. Both teams coming in hungry. So the Westbrook people right now are asking, last game's the last game. This game is this game. But what do we have to do?
Right.
What do we have to do to beat this team that's coming in hungry just like we are? What do we
Right.
got to do right?
Well, obviously all the cliche stuff. So let's get all that out of the way first. Can't turn the ball over, stand in front of the chains. You just pull out the list of coaching responses that you got to avoid penalties, win the turnover battle, be sound in the kicking game, all that stuff.
Yep.
The big key to games, we got to be able to score when we have the ball, and we got to be able to keep Welborn out of the end zone. And both of us are teams that kind of thrive in ball control type environments. And so I do think that it's going to be essential to get some stops and be able to control the time of possession, control the flow of the game.
You both put up a lot of points.
We do, and unfortunately, sometimes we both give up a lot of points.
Right, sure.
And that part of it is the flip side. But
Let's not be negative, Coach.
No, I'm not
He's a
being
father.
negative. I'm just saying, at the end of the day, we're not the only ones in this game that's playing for something.
Sure.
And we're playing at their place. I'm sure, though, it's their senior night. I'm sure they'll have a huge crowd there. Their coach is telling their players the same thing. They don't need any help. If they win, they're in. That's the thing about the other 3 teams that's in this dilemma with us right now. It's us, Chevy, Pennington, Weaver, and Welborn. All 3 of those other 3 control their destiny. They win, they're in. We're in a position where we have to win and something else has to happen on the other game. So we're in a little bit behind the 8 ball, I guess, compared to those 3. And then Ohatchee's in it, but I've got absolutely no idea what all's got to happen for Ohatchee. I don't know who's got to beat who, but I know that they're not eliminated. There's a way that they can get in if certain things happen as well. I just don't know what those certain things are.
We don't care about those things.
Yeah.
We care about
Well,
Westbrook.
I don't have an advocacy. It's confusing, Coach, and
Yeah.
I have to take my shoe off and use some piggies on
You're the
that.
one.
Let's talk about your offense a little bit, and from you going to looking for some different stats.
Yeah.
3rd down is going to be so big in this game, as it is in most games. But
Correct.
what are you trying to work on to be sure your 3rd down conversions are what you have a goal for third down conversions? Hey, I'm happy if my offense is at 60%, 70%. I mean, what is your? You have a set like I know we're okay if we're hitting this.
Yeah, we don't really talk much about percentages or numbers.
Yeah.
I'm more concerned with the situation. Third and 4, third and 5. A lot of times, third and 4, third and 5. If you're out, you're 40 or so. That's really 2 down territory. So. Third, I'm a lot more into how far you got to get on third down to whether or not you got 2 downs to get it,
Sure.
and already be thinking ahead if you don't get it, what's your next play going to be? So I'm a lot more concerned with staying away from third and 8, 9, 10, something in that range. So we try to be third and 5 or less so that it's 2 down territory. And if you ask me what were we on third down conversions this year, I've got no idea. I'm sure that stat's out there somewhere, but I don't really pay attention to a lot of it. I just I tell the kids I hate punting. I say I hate the devil and I hate punting. So we try not to punt. And
Pretty close.
But that's like last week. That game with Weaver. You look at the final score and it's a high scoring affair, 37-34.
Yeah.
We had 7 possessions for the night. We scored on 5 of them.
That's
We didn't have any turnovers. We did punt twice. But what got us, Welborn got the ball first, or I say Welborn, Weaver. I might have said Welborn a minute ago. I meant Weaver last week. Weaver got the ball first, and then they had it at the end of the first half. We got it first in the second half, but then they scored and got an onside kick, so they got up a possession on us, and then they had it at the end. So for the night, hard to believe how it happens, but we had 7 possessions, they had 9, and in a game of limited possessions, neither team turned the football over. So then you start looking at points and you start looking at punts and things of that nature. We've been pretty efficient the last couple of weeks on offense. We just, we've not been able to get off the field sometimes when we needed to on the defensive side, and then, lost in the shuffle up at Pennington, and the 3-point loss was they had a pick 6. And that really kind of broke our back as well. We turned the football over 4 times in the second half up there, and so. Our defense didn't play near as poorly at Pennington as the score might indicate. We just we put them in some great situations with turnovers on our offensive side, and it just goes back to what we always talk about, a complementary game. Offense and defense having to feed off each other. We haven't had a game where we put it all together yet. Hopefully that'll be this Friday night.
Just looking at a lot of people watching, Coach. More of those Skaggs guys are watching. Got to watch those guys.
Oh yeah.
Let's from a coaching standpoint in big games, and you've coached in a ton of big games in your lifetime, played in a ton of big games. Where's the point where you get the guys hyped up and understanding how important the game is versus overly putting a lot of pressure on the kids?
No, you just got to play in the game. I learned a long time ago. It's if you play the game on emotion, you come out. One of my former coaches, Coach Burgess, said they'll come out shooting sparks. The shooting sparks part of it don't last. I mean, the emotional part of it, the run through victory line and all that. I mean, all that stuff eventually wears off, and you have to settle in and play the game. I always try to be honest with our players. I always try to let them know what's on the line. I've told them all week long, your playoff life's on the line. They're smart enough, they figure that out without me telling them. I don't want them to be tight going out there. I want them to be loose and play fast and all that stuff, But I also think you always be real with them about what's at stake. And if anything, last week I overstated last week because I told our kids if we didn't win last week, we didn't have a chance to be in the playoffs. So we left the field house Friday night. The players did, thinking we were out of it until we realized those scenarios that were there that we could still be in it. And looking back on it, it's crazy how everything works in this region with who beats who, but. If we would have won last week, we still would have to win this week to get in. So I mean, it's kind of crazy, that winning last week would not have taken any pressure off of this week. Winning last week and winning at JB Pennington might have had us a spot locked up, but we played each of the last 2 weeks as playoff type atmosphere, playoff type games, and here we are. Coming off 2 losses, and it's still playoff atmosphere this week, So we're very fortunate to be in the position that we're in.
You got people saying, Tim Crow says, good morning, Coach.
Good morning.
A lot of people watching. So, idea. It is Halloween, by the way. Happy Halloween to everyone that celebrates. I'm a big fan of candy myself, to be honest with I think you should do the pregame speech dressed as Batman, right? He's got the voice.
He does got the voice.
I think that's it, Coach. I think you go
Just
in there
whisper a
as
little bit more.
Batman.
Yeah.
Go get the
I'm
victory.
planning on dressing up for the game tomorrow night, and I've got
Head
a
football
costume.
coach?
I got a costume I'm gonna wear on the sideline tomorrow
God,
night.
it scares me.
You
Go ahead,
gonna
Coach.
dress as Coach Burgess?
That would be good.
I'm gonna bring out the polyester pants. I better, how about if I bring out the bike coaching shorts? That's what I need, bike coaching
Boy,
shorts.
that's old school, baby. That is old school.
I'm gonna bike coaching shorts and just a white pullover with a W on it.
Darn
You gotta
right.
have the hat though.
Yeah.
You gotta have
A bucket hat, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's classic. That's incredible. Oh, good Lord.
Could dress as John Kroll. He had to wear stilts, I think.
Yeah.
Tight and tight pants, tight khakis.
He's
Vertically
he's
challenged.
a little taller than me.
He's a little tall. Injury wise, how are we going in this game?
I think for week 10 we're about as healthy as you can be.
Yeah.
We got some guys that got the typical, shoulder dings here and high ankle sprains or whatever it might be, But for week 10 of the season, I think we're in as good shape as we could possibly be in.
We talk about the kicking game often, as far as the field goal opportunities. Let's talk about the punting. I know you hate
Right.
punting.
Right.
You don't hate the punter. That's not what he said.
Right.
He hates punting the football. How are we in that capacity? How's our punting been this season?
I would say the punting's been average, been decent. Like I said, our punter has got a little ways to go to be as efficient as our field goal kicker. Our field goal kicker's been a little bit more efficient than our punter. Now the good part about this, same guy.
Same guy. Yeah, I was going to say. At first, I'm like,
So that's not a knock on Reed. Because he's done an outstanding job as our place kicker. But
Sure.
in his defense, he hasn't got a lot of practice with punting.
Right,
I think we
I was gonna say.
punted. 18 times or 19 times. So we don't because again
know if it's
I hate
bad.
punting. So we usually go for it if it's pretty manageable.
Yeah.
But now Reed works extremely hard at his craft. He does a really good job. He's gotten off some punts this year that have flipped the field. So we've had some times where the punt game hasn't hurt us. We gave up a safety on a punt snap over our head against somebody. I don't even remember who it was against, but Piedmont. We had a safety where we snapped one over the punter's head. But other than that, the punt team has been pretty solid for us this year. But it's something that Reed works on regularly and something he has improved at.
well, sometimes it's not necessarily the punter; it's the punt team as well, the coverage team. Yeah, that's a big part of it that no one really talks about.
Well, and so many teams in high school, us included, a lot of times don't even field punts anymore.
Yeah.
They just take the change of possession, and so Reed's gotten off a couple this year, 50-plus yards, because he punted the ball, turned one over, and the other team didn't have anybody back there deep to get it and got a good roll. So it's a very underrated part of the game for sure.
Yeah.
But it's one, the thing you can work. I always have been hesitant when somebody say, "Man, we got a really good punt team," because if you got a really good punt team, you're doing it a lot.
I mean, our offense isn't that great, but our punt team.
But the other one,
point.
I remember when I got to Piedmont, and there was a daddy that was wanting me to check in on something about why his son, before I got there, but he had asked me to check on how his eldest son was not in the state record books, and I asked for what, and he said most extra points blocked in a season. Now, if you think about that for a second,
You think he's the one blocking?
no, if you're really good at blocking extra points and you have a state record for blocked extra points in a season, that means you've done it a bunch. That means you hadn't done very good. I don't want a good field goal block team. If you're good at field goal blocks, that means you're out there a lot, and that means other teams scoring.
True.
So
Perspective, coach.
it's all about perspective. But every week we go over, and Coach Lee's our special teams guy, and we go over kickoff return, punt return, extra point field goal, and an extra point field goal block. You go over them every week because you're supposed to go over them every week. But it's like he tells our field goal block, our extra point block team every week, this is what we're going to do. This is our game plan. We hope we don't have to do it. Because if you don't have to do extra point field goal block, that means the other team hasn't scored.
Heck yeah.
It's kind of like kickoff return. You don't,
That's right.
you try to tell you kickoff return, the goal is to do this one time a game. If you haven't do kickoff return more than once, if you're good at kickoff return, that means you're doing it a lot. That ain't good for your team.
I know we spoke about this before. Who was your snapper on these on your long snappers?
Taylor Brown is our long snapper
Yeah,
and has
that's
done an outstanding job. Like I said,
Yeah,
just
we
like we
talked
talked
about
about last
Yeah,
week,
yeah.
you know, you just made me name him by name. That's your fault, Jerry, after I've made a mention of us having a bad punt snap against Piedmont. So, Taylor, I love you, son. Coach Brown, I love you. Taylor, you've done a great job all year long, but since Jerry made me call your name out right there.
Yeah, but look how much he's improved since that Piedmont game. It's been flawless.
There you go.
Flawless.
Good way to say it. Good way to say it.
Do what I can.
Well, your punter does a great job kicking off. I mean,
Yep.
you got many touchbacks.
Yep.
that's-
Huge weapon, and
Yeah.
it's something.
Most high schoolers don't have
Well,
That's right.
it's something
Yeah.
that the people in the crowd, somebody says, "Oh, he kicked in the end zone." You know, they don't realize how big of a deal that is. You know, especially when the other team has returned people back there, like what Weaver had last week with number 4, number 1. You know, to be able 4 out of 6 or
Yes.
5 out of 6 times. Not allow them a chance to return the ball because that's a big play opportunity for big play players.
Darn right.
So
rather kick it out of bounds than kick it to either one of those two.
well, and again, it's just been such a weapon for us this year that Reed has been able to consistently do that, and it
And at
again,
his age.
yeah, and making the other team go 80 yards. You still got to go out there and get a stop, but
Darn right.
the law of averages says the more times that the team has to snap the ball to get to the end zone, the more likely they are to make a mistake. And so, that's what that kind of fits into our philosophy. We don't need to give up the big play. Let's kick it in the end zone, make them go 80 yards, and then just take our chances. When we've eliminated giving up the big play on the defensive side, and we've made people go the length of the field, we've been pretty good.
Yep. I mean, he averaged 57 yards last week, 64-yard bomb. I mean, he was legs,
Yep.
all legs
Yep.
last week. So I think he needs to continue that this week, sir.
Yep.
Let's make sure that happens.
I don't think that's going to be a problem.
I don't
The
either.
dude works on his craft. He puts a lot of work in on his craft. I mean, other than practice, right? Because especially kicking, you don't have a lot of time during practice. I mean, you have to put the time in on your own time to do
Well,
that.
and one thing, he's just a kicker and a punter for us, so he's not playing an offensive, defensive position. So he has some time during the week that he works on the side.
Yeah.
He methodically goes about doing little one-step drills. It's not like he just comes out there and gets somebody to hold for him and works on kicking 50-yard field goals every day. He does the fundamentals. He does a lot of stuff off on the side that's just his technique stuff that I think has helped him hone his craft. And Reed was also coming off a pretty severe ankle sprain. He plays basketball, and he had a high ankle sprain from the summer. So he really didn't hit his stride probably till about week 3 or 4 of the football season, to where he was completely comfortable with that plant foot. But he's athletic enough he could play a position on offense or defense and probably help our team. But he's just such a weapon as a kicker and a punter that that's what we've done this year. As his sophomore year has finished up, or is finishing up. He's halfway through his high school career. It's not to say he won't be a position player in the future, but he's such a valuable weapon for us, as a punter and kicker.
Sure.
And again, he's working on that. And then what a lot of people don't see, but I've seen, other coaches seen, a lot of times he's up there on Sunday afternoon, got his dad and all his family out there chasing balls, and they're working on their own,
Heck yeah.
The biggest thing with Reed, like other guys I've had in the past before that kicked, my own son Sloan was a kicker, is those guys sometimes they get a little bit of a dead leg because they can kick too much. And hip flexor type injuries, things like that you don't see at other positions, but because they're wearing out that hip flexor, you just got to be smart with it. You got to be cautious about how much you train and what you train. They have to stretch really, really good to be able to use that.
So kind
use
of
that
put
muscle.
it on a pitch count, so to speak, right?
Yeah, and a lot of times with him, it's just how he's feeling. There's been days before that we've had him scheduled to kick on Tuesday, but he's a coach. Can we kick tomorrow and do that phase of the game tomorrow's practice? Because I trust Reed a lot, and he's always been up front with me about how he's feeling, or if he had some type of treatment that was going on to try to get his legs back up on him a little bit. It is different. Again, I grew up in the 80s. I was a quarterback and a kicker and punter. Coach Johnson never wanted to hear from me that I had a dead leg or anything like that. He just like, just hush your mouth, get out there and kick it.
Yeah, ask the Indianapolis coach about that.
Well, but as I've gotten older and a little bit more wise as a coach, I mean, probably as much as anybody on the team, I probably listen to the punter kicker about how he's feeling and how it dictates when we do stuff on the practice schedule. If a lineman comes over and tells me that he's a little bit sore, I'm just going to tell him just hush his mouth and get over and let's play. you may quarterback shoulder's a little sore or something. You may not throw it as much today, or get your other guy a little bit more work, things like that. But the kicker, I actually listen to Reed quite often on how he's feeling, and if he ain't feeling good on Tuesday, and he needs to kick more on Wednesday, then guess what we're gonna do?
That's right.
Well, you also know that he's a competitor, and
Right.
he wants,
He's not trying to get out of anything.
Yeah, he wants to do it. Let's talk injuries for a second. We really don't talk about that much on any of the shows we do. When you talk high ankle sprain, that's something. It's not like a typical sprained ankle.
Right.
That's serious, and it takes a long time to come
Well,
back.
here's the thing. Typically, most doctors are 2 to 4 weeks on a high ankle sprain. You see them all the time in the NFL. You see them in college. Reed's lasted a little bit longer because of the nature of what his job was in football.
Yeah.
We've had guys this year that have played with high ankle sprains the very next week and just gritted it out, and all, but their position may not have had as much focus on that part of the body as, say, a punter or kickers did. But, a high ankle sprain, a lot of doctors will tell you sometimes a high ankle sprain is worse than a broken ankle.
Yeah.
And, so we've had a couple of kids this year that's had a diagnosed high ankle sprain, and they haven't missed a game, and they've just soldiered on through it, and they're just tough kids, and that has not gone unnoticed by their coach. That has not gone unnoticed by our coaching staff, that those guys want to be out there with their teammates, and they just done whatever they've had to do to be able to keep it going.
And their teammates recognize that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Going into battle, who's going to fall down on you, who's not.
Well, and as a coach, you love those guys that exhibit that toughness. It goes back to anything else that we've talked about with football. Adversity comes, you either find a way or you can find a way out. And as a coach, I love those guys that try to find a way to make it happen. And we're never going to go against what a doctor's orders are. And that's what I've told them from the beginning. I said, look, the doctors are a lot smarter than I am when it comes to diagnosing injuries and treatment and what needs to happen. We rely a lot on what the doctors say. We rely a lot on what the trainers do and where the trainers tell us their progress is. We haven't had a trainer every day this year like we've been accustomed to in the past, and so that's put a little bit of the onus back on me as the coach to try to use discretion on what a kid can and can't do. But I want to have the relationship with our players that they can be upfront and honest with me on how they're feeling. And my biggest thing is, can you protect yourself out there? We're not going to ever run a risk with anybody with a head injury for sure. Head injuries are something that we're not going to play around with. But if that kid's got a dinged shoulder and he tells me he can go and he can protect himself, then I admire and appreciate that. I don't hold it against him if he says, Coach, I just can't go. It all come out in the wash, but we've got a kid on our team right now that's playing with a high ankle sprain that most doctors would tell you need to sit him 2 to 4 weeks. He's like, I'm not sitting 1 week, much less 2 to 4. We've got a kid right now on our team.
That. Yeah.
We got a kid right now on our team that's playing with a non-displaced fracture in their shoulder.
Oh.
Playing tackle football, and he's in a position where he's having to hit, and it's just I don't have a sport going on after football. If I have to take care of it, I'll take care of it after football, but I'm not missing. So on and on, there's a lot of stories on our team like that. Of course, we don't reveal that. We don't reveal an injury report because we don't want to give the other team any type of heads up on it.
That's right.
Because what the other team's going to do, they're going to try to attack those people at their weakness. That's just gamesmanship.
Sure.
But I'll say it right here on the show, though. A lot of folks that don't know those things don't ever question the toughness of our kids, because we got some guys that are laying it on the line for the team right now that probably, if they went to the doctor, would probably have been held out for some period of time, and they're just they're either not going or they're going, and them and their parents are not telling me what the results were. One of the two.
That's probably true.
Yeah.
Hey, let's stay right there for a second. Not necessarily a Westbrook sole focus here, but not having trainers every day is a big issue. And I think most every coach would agree that there needs to be a way to make that happen.
Well, we're begging for it. Coach Rob and myself have actually met with some of our local governmental leaders on the state level to try to get some legislation introduced to try to push for that in every school. The school nurses were placed in every school probably about 10 years ago, maybe, give or take. It was very much needed. Getting the AEDs in the school is something that the legislature's done a good job of getting at least one AED in every school. Very much needed. Athletic trainers, when you start looking at the typical high schools, in this area in particular, over 50% of the kids are involved in athletics in some shape, form, or fashion.
Sure.
All right. I don't know of a person that could be in the school building that could be more impactful on a daily basis with over half the student population in most schools being involved in athletics than an athletic trainer.
Yeah.
On a daily basis, there's 3 or 4 kids at Westbrook on a daily basis, every day, that are going to either a rehab place or a doctor's appointment or coming in for treatment with us after school, after practice, the one day a week that the trainer is at the school, coming down to meet with the trainer. Every school around here has kids that today will miss school, male or female, because they have to check out to go to a rehab appointment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. I'm not saying having trainers would keep you from having those appointments as much as having trainers would have a person at the school that's in tune with the doctors and the therapist on where a person's at so that they could help get them ready to get back on the field or on the court in a timely fashion. Part of what we did with our field house, we built our field house with a state-of-the-art training room with heat, ice, tubs, bikes, steppers, treadmills. We can do a lot of the rehab stuff in-house there at our place, but we need the trainer there every day that specializes in working with those kids on their specific needs. And that's something we'd like to see happen in every school in the state of Alabama.
I don't know if I heard this or read this in this regard, but not only is it a lack of funding for this, but it could be a lack of trainers.
Well, most trainers, not most, I'm not qualified to say that, but a lot of the trainers, their end goal is not to be a high school athletic trainer for the rest of their life.
Yeah.
They have bigger goals, bigger aspirations, chasing a 6-year degree or whatever it might be,
Sure.
to be more into the therapy side of things, because obviously it's like any other profession, where's the money at, right?
Yeah.
But I honestly believe, just like any other aspect of a school, I think
You need the trainer coming. You need to pull the shoulder right
there's 400 high schools plus in the state of Alabama. If there was 400 new jobs created for people in athletic training, I think you'd see more people getting their degrees in athletic training.
Heck yeah, no.
I mean, here's the thing. I get the part of them saying that there's nobody out there, no trainers available. Well, why would you go to school to be an athletic trainer if there's nobody hiring trainers?
Bingo.
And
that's
it's all a business. I mean, the doctors groups,
Sure.
obviously they can't afford to fund 40 trainers for 40 different schools in the area, because I mean that's just out of their budget. But
They're not non-for-profit, right? They're
That's
for-profit
right.
business.
But
It's the same thing as-
it's business, and it's business wherever you go.
Yes.
And we've got great doctors in Gadsden, Alabama.
Sure.
There's great doctors groups in Gadsden, Alabama, and I'm sure all those doctors groups would love to be able to say, yeah, hey, we'd love to put trainers in every school.
That's right.
But it's financial
Gotta pay it.
responsibility that's not there. It's not feasible. But I do believe if the state of Alabama, if there was an athletic trainer in every high school, if there was 400 plus jobs, you'd start seeing a lot more students interested in going in and getting their degree in athletic training.
Well, it's the same thing with math and science. You started running out of math and science teachers. People were not getting those degrees. Absolutely, that's the worst. It's the hardest. You're not going to get that. I'm going to be a history teacher. I'm going to be this. I'll be elementary ed, whatever. And all of a sudden, the State Department got together and said, "Hey, we got to have them. We have a huge shortage. We got to pay them more."
That's right.
And so what they do, they start
Teams
paying them more.
contracts.
There you
Yep.
go. And so same thing. So I agree. I love it. I think that's something that needs to be happening, and our legislators can help with that.
I
They can
don't
help.
think there's a person, when we met with the guys here and that represent this district, this area, they were all very supportive.
You mean the
Very-
legislature
Very,
people,
very
right?
positive.
Okay.
Very positive toward the ideas that Coach Rob and I threw out there. They agree with us. I picked up the phone. I called Dr. Mackey, State Superintendent of Education. He and I are the same age. He's a Sand Rock guy. I'm from Center, so I've known Eric Mackey for a long time. He don't disagree with anything. He understands the need. He understands the importance. It comes down to what everything else comes down to.
Sure.
It's dollars.
That's right.
It's the funding aspect of
Well,
it.
there is a lot in the state education department has in
That's right.
surplus
and,
right
and
now.
again, it's just I think unfortunately, and it's tough to say this, until you have 2 or 3 kids die on the field,
God forbid.
That's
you don't
right.
want
That's
to see
true.
that happen.
That's
We want to try to be proactive and not reactive in the need. But until you see things like that happen, I think it's one of those things. Yeah, coach, that's a great idea. We agree with you. We're all 100% behind you. Don't have the money to do it. You know, my thing is, you got money to do whatever you feel like's most important. I think protecting kids in the realm of athletics is one of the most important things as part of the school day, and so I won't give up on that particular push to be able to try to get that done, because it is such a big need.
That's good.
Let's talk about this too on that same lines. Budgeting for stuff like that, tape and pre-wrap,
Right.
all that stuff
Right.
is super expensive. And some of the programs who aren't necessarily winning programs and small budgets, when it comes later in the
Yeah.
season, man, it's just tough to have the stuff they need to be able to take care of the kids.
Football will spend over $1,000 this year on tape, pre-wrap, and just medical supplies that we have to have on a daily basis.
Wow.
Athletic department-wise, we'll probably spend between $2,000 and $3,000 at Westbrook this year on medical expense type stuff that you got to have just for the daily function. And then on top of that, we got tape and pre-wrap. I think Coach Mark Sanders, he handles our taping from a coaching side. Kids don't want me taping their ankles. They're going to be about 10 minutes in, and we're going to be cutting it off because every ankle I've ever taped, I've taped too tight.
Yeah.
You know, that coach can't feel my toes.
They're blue, Coach. They're blue.
But you know, it's one of those situations to where we're asking coaches who have certificates that say, yeah, we've taken a course to recognize concussions. We've taken a course to recognize heat illness. We've taken a course in sudden cardiac arrest. But we're putting coaches in positions to make medical decisions that we're not qualified to make.
Yeah.
And that's a huge liability, okay? And all of us, there's not a coach that I know that the well-being and the safety of their players is not their first and foremost priority. And football in particular,
So
a lot of us are hard-nosed.
Sure.
There's a fine line between me pushing a kid in the heat of August and saying you can do it and encouraging them and not letting them give up, and then being smart to not push them past the point of some type of heat exertion illness. You know, having a trainer, the years I've had a trainer out there with me every day, if he or she looked at me and said, "Hey, coach, this one needs to sit," they sit with no questions.
Yeah.
Because they are more qualified to diagnose and recognize those symptoms than I am. As a football coach, a lot of times in the heat of the moment, I'm trying to push them and talk about being tough and get through. It's the fourth quarter, 5 more up downs, whatever it might be, to try to push them to that limit for them to be able to see and achieve things that they normally couldn't see themselves doing. But having that trainer beside me saying, "No, coach, it's time to pull back a little bit. We need to do something different," then that really, really is a huge help for us.
Yeah.
Let me take this down another road. I'm just enjoying the conversation, Coach. I know we're not necessarily total football here, but just like Scott Hassel, Judge Hassel here, really put a focus, and Jeff, you delved into this, on the mental aspect of understanding, you know, depression and those kind of things. How do you guys go about, something's wrong with it? I mean, the kid you can tell the kid's depressed and not. That's a lot for a coach. But
Well, now that part of it, I will say this: I really am not qualified from the mental
Nor
health
am I.
side of it. You know, the mental health side. The best thing I can say that I've tried to do over my coaching career is you just try to get to know your players on a personal level.
Yeah.
Everybody's not the same, and it's kind of like teaching people to recognize counterfeit money. I try to be mindful and vigilant in recognizing when somebody's not being themselves. I try to get to know them on what you expect to get out of them every day, how you expect them to respond. Hey, man, what's going on? That time, I try to know what to expect from each of them individually, and then look out for something when something appears different.
Yeah.
And that, you know, that's difficult to do. You got 61 guys down there, and you can't just lump it. You know, old school philosophy is you lump everybody into one bowl and everybody does it the same way and no excuses.
Yeah.
Sure.
Unfortunately, that's not the way people are wired. And I use this motto. I said, you got to treat everybody fairly, but you can't treat everybody the same.
I agree.
And that's what old school mentality. Everybody got on the line. Everybody run 40-yard dashes. Everybody did this, and everybody had this amount of time. And you got to be fair to everybody on your team, but you can't always treat all of them the same because you don't know what their circumstances are until you get to know them. You know, there's kids, I've coached plenty of kids before that if I pushed them to the limit and they wanted to give up, their daddy would drag them back up there, you know, kicking them in the butt the whole time.
Yeah.
You doing what the coach says. And then I've had kids before that you push them like that and their daddy's come up and want to fight me.
Sure.
So, I mean, it's just, you just got to know every situation, and you got to try to, you got to try to get to know your kids, and then be mindful when you see something that sticks out as that's not like him.
That's right. That's right.
That's a great segue into the school resource officers. I'm just kidding.
But I will say this: we got in Mike Prater, we got one of the best ones I've ever been around. And
He's
he
like
gets
a teacher. These kids.
well,
love this
he
dude,
gets
man.
in there and gets to know those kids, and they can trust him, and they can confide in him, and he's just another great mentor and another great resource at our school.
I know your wife just, gosh, she's so over the moon about how good the school resource officers are in her school.
Yeah.
It's
Really
and
good.
I just don't think they get enough recognition for.
No.
Hey, it's a police standing there all day. That's not what they're doing.
No.
Right? They're interacting. They're mentoring. They're getting to know these kids, and it's pretty special. I know we're talking about
Right.
everything but football, coach, but we're just talking.
It's part of the program.
Yeah.
All those people are vital parts to the program. And that the program, in my mind, the program is the school.
Yes.
The school's athletic program as a whole. Then it's branching down to football. Then it's branching down to your different levels. But all of those things are important resources toward having a great school environment. And you know, football's a small part of that, but it's something that's a priority to me, obviously, and something that we want to put a good product on the field and positively represent our school and our community and all those people that you mentioned. Our school resource officer on Friday on game days, home days, he's got a big part in welcoming the other team, showing them where to park, getting officials to and from their car. On the road games, he leads our buses and helps us get where we're supposed to be, gets us in and out of the visiting team's facilities. So Officer Prater, big shout out to him for all that he does for our school.
And he's packing heat.
Yep.
That always helps. Hey, the last thing, I'm going to get football, and then we're done as far as how much chance you had to talk to Coach Smith lately?
Which Coach Smith?
The one you're playing against.
Oh,
Jeff Smith.
yeah, we talked a
Here's
little
a couple.
bit. Yeah, we talked.
He talks to himself a lot.
He talks to himself all the time.
It's not bad if you talk to yourself. It's bad when you start answering yourself. That's what I always say.
Okay.
No, I talked to Jeff probably 2 or 3 times this week already, and then we talked some more on text messaging and stuff.
Yeah.
We go way back to the late 80s when we were together at Jacksonville State, and then we played each other numerous times over the years with him being at Welborn and the years I was at Piedmont, and now us and Welborn in the same region here. But great guy, wonderful coach. He's a Welborn guy that's back doing what he loves at his home school. And I always say this: when you get one of them, you get all of them. His wife Lisa's right there working at school. Both his sons help him coach, Jet and Judd. They're Welborn graduates themselves. His daughter was a cheerleader there, and all just that whole family. They're Welborn through and through, and they love that school and that community, and he's done a great job. I think it's about 2009 maybe when he came back to Welborn. He was at Comanche for a while, then at Hueytown, and then back to Welborn as the head coach. I think it was 2009 was his first year back, and we talk a good bit. We talk a good bit about other things other than football too. Just
he's a good dude.
reflect back on some of the old days. And he coached my oldest Sean in the All-Star game back in 2020, I guess it was, in the North-South All-Star game, and just over the years just keeping up with each other's careers. So we talk pretty regularly. During football season, probably only if we need film or something like that. Our opponents, I know he come and watched our Ohatchee game because they were off that week. He called me the next morning about that game. So, but a lot of respect for him as a coach and the things he's been able to go back and do at his alma mater.
It's going to be a good one, Jeff.
It's going to be great. Tomorrow night, 7 p.m. at Welborn, as Jared likes to say, the old Walter Welborn. You get out, support
That's his
Westbrook.
government name.
That's the government name. Get out and support the Warriors tomorrow night. You can go to GoFan. I'm sure the tickets will be there as well. They always got to offer a gate ticket, so you got to pull in there. It's going to be get there a little early. Parking is a little different over there.
Suspect.
It's a little different. So get there early, get you a good spot, and get out and support these Warriors. They need your support tomorrow night. And if you want to, you can pull for Pennington. I'm just saying.
Now, if you want to, you need to.
I mean, you need to.
You need to.